Hello, my name is Zoe Brooker, and I'm going to be presenting my research on travel behavior in Tampa, specifically regarding commuter students that go to USF. Because there is such a limited amount of dorm space, that means that a majority of students that attend USF are going to be commuting to campus, whether it is through public transportation or even walking and biking for the students that live within 2 miles of campus, but a large majority is also going to be using a car for perceptions of safety reasons, as well as just the distance that they have to travel in order to get to campus. One of the main questions that I want to ask and show in my research is how traffic patterns in the surrounding area are going to affect daily commuter travel behavior. A secondary question to this would be how the perceptions of safety affect a commuter's travel choices and the modes of transportation that they are choosing. There are 3 aspects that I want to focus on as a foundation for travel behavior as a whole. The first one is going to be the built environment. The built environment is very important in understanding travel behavior because it involves factors such as urban design, transportation infrastructure such as the public bus transportation system, as well as the safety of pedestrian approaches such as sidewalks and biker lanes for bicycles. As well as the accessibility to amenities within the area, such as grocery stores or food places, or even hospitals, or outdoor recreation areas. All of these things are included in the built environment. These elements can help urban planners develop better transportation systems, even reduce congestion, and just overall create a more livable and community-involved city. Another approach to my foundation on travel behavior is the pedestrian-oriented approach. Studies show that cities that have a greater focus on their transportation system are going to have residents that are more likely to try different modes of transportation, such as walking or biking instead of driving a car. If there was a better public transport system, then commuter students might be better able to use that instead of driving their car, which could reduce congestion in an area and even promote inner city economics. The last aspect to my foundation in research were mental maps. A mental map is a cognitive map that represents the spatial knowledge and spatial understanding in people's memories. So they are going to take the physical structures within an area, such as landmarks or certain buildings, and connect those with the emotions and feelings that they get when they initially see these places, and or if they see them on a regular basis, on how they're going to make them feel. All of those things considered, they are then going to influence their travel behavior based on how they feel about these mental maps. Each person is going to have a different mental map, which is why this is such a huge aspect of my research, because individual travel behavior is going to be influenced by many things. And urban design does not often take into account how mental maps can affect the reasons that they're traveling in the areas that they're traveling, and or the reasons they're using specific modes of transportation. Urban planning often looks at it from a bird's eye view rather than from the resident point of view. So the goal of my research is to highlight how students are affected by traffic patterns and how they are going to affect the economics within the area based on their specific travel behaviors. So my research was conducted using a survey of 18 questions. 16 of them are going to be quantitative, multiple choice questions, and 2 of them are going to be open-ended written response questions to better understand the personal motivations and opinions of the students that are surveying. I collected a total of 25 responses. The survey was split into 4 sections. The first section was basic demographic information, such as their grade level, their employment status in relation to their enrollment status, so whether they were full-time or part-time student, and whether they had a part-time, full-time, or unemployed type of job. And then the last question of the first section was regarding where they live, whether it's on campus, within a mile of campus, 1 to 5 miles near campus, or over 5 miles. Because there are a lot of students that live within 1 to 5 miles, but I also really wanted to understand the students that live more than 5 miles and how they are choosing how they are choosing the places that they travel, and how they are choosing the mode of transportation. The second section of my survey included more transportation information, such as the main mode of transportation, which was a car for most respondents, the average time spent traveling, which was mainly 1 to 20 minutes, but had a close second and third place tie for 21 to 40 and 41 to 60 minutes, with little to no respondents saying that they travel more than 60 minutes within a day, which is interesting considering the traffic in Tampa. The last 2 questions of the second section was also regarding the number of trips that students make. So in the literature from Handy 2002, they defined a trip as traveling more than 300 feet from point A to point B. So I asked how many trips on average they make on a day-to-day basis on a weekday versus a weekend, in which case the majority was 1 to 10 trips for both weekday and weekends. The third section was the main part of my research in asking if students are going to prioritize speed and efficiency in the routes they are choosing, in which case the majority said somewhat yes and definitely yes. Additionally, involving public transport, I asked whether the perceived system around Tampa was poor or good, or what their level of perception was, in which case a majority said poor or very poor as the perception of public transport. The on-campus bull runner system is going to be much more efficient than the HART system in the city of Tampa, which could be influenced in those results. So a separate survey may be more informative in the type of transportation that they're using, as well as if the proximity to a transportation hub such as a bus stop was important in their transportation decisions, in which case a majority of respondents said that no, which is not surprising because the main mode of transportation for the respondents were a car. The last section of my survey included the 2 open-ended questions, which asked for any improvements to be made within transportation systems, and how safety is influenced in their travel decisions, in which case there was a general consensus that safer public transport methods were necessary for travel decisions, as well as the reliability of public transport, because it is not necessarily on a set schedule, the City of Tampa bus, which can also be affected by traffic patterns. So heavily congested areas are going to cause the bus to move slower, so they can only do so much with their estimated time of arrival for certain stops. The last two multiple choice questions within this section regarded if a respondent would change their route or transportation mode to avoid heavy traffic, in which case the majority said probably yes, with the next highest amount of responses being definitely yes, which definitely supports my hypothesis that traffic patterns do affect travel behavior and travel choices. The other question was regarding if a respondent would adopt a new transportation technology such as ride-sharing services such as Uber or Lyft, and or if they would use rentable electric scooters if given the access, in which case the majority also said they were highly likely to adopt new methods given the access. So overall, the low safety and poor public transport system within Tampa very much influences the likelihood of students using walking or biking as their main mode of transportation, as well as public transport. In regards to traffic patterns, the information and results of the survey did show that traffic patterns affect the routes and the reasons that that a student is going to travel, but I was not able to collect as many survey responses as I wanted, and I was not able to conduct in-person interviews, which would be a potential future research focus on how on the real motivations that are affecting commuter behavior. Overall, a pedestrian-focused city design combined with the cognitive maps can reduce congestion, promote better economics within the city, and even conduct or encourage greater community engagement. So future research and or future urban planning can really heavily use these research such as this project to understand the reasons behind travel choices, which could better influence where they put bus stops or whether or not that's necessary, where they could possibly put safer bike lanes, where they could put better pedestrian infrastructure, all of which can greatly benefit the economics of the city and the safety of the students, especially in an area with so many students, such as USF. So thank you. I appreciate you listening to me. Have a good night.